Hello, I'm David Hughes. Welcome to Your Perfect Body, the podcast of the Esoteric Teaching Community. Today's selection is an essay entitled The Cure. So far, in our detailed study of the second chapter of Bhagavad-gita, we have been examining Arjuna's arguments for not fighting. Now, finally, those arguments are coming to an end, and as he surrenders to Kṛṣṇa and accepts him as his guru, he begins to reveal a deeper level of his consciousness, his existential situation. Nahi prapasyami mamapanudyad, chokam ucchosanam indriyanam, avapya bhumav asapatnam rddham, rajyam suranam cadhipatyam. I can find no means to drive away this grief which is drying up my senses. I will not be able to destroy it, even if I win an unrivaled kingdom on the earth with sovereignty like the demigods in heaven. Bhagavad-gita 2:8. Nahi prapasyami mamapanudyad chokam ucchosanam indriyanam. I can find no means to drive away this grief which is drying up my senses. This is the existential situation of material existence. We are always in difficulty. Not sometimes, always. We are always in difficulty. But we make a distinction between ordinary suffering and really bad suffering. We call the ordinary suffering happiness and the bad suffering distress. When we try some artificial means to cover the difficulty of material existence, we feel some small measure of false hope and temporary relief, and that futile attempt is taken as happiness. Actually, there is no real happiness in material consciousness because we know that we will have to die. But sometimes, with the false hope that by this attempt I shall become happy in the future, we feel a little temporary relief. But the reality that material life is miserable always sets in again. The so-called scientists are dreaming, in future we shall become immortal. This gives them some false hope. So many people are dreaming of different material schemes to end suffering. But these are just false hopes, band-aids on a grievous mortal wound. Those who are sane, such as my spiritual master always said, trust no future, however pleasant. The future is a post-dated check. So that is the actual position. Nahi prapasyami mamapanudyad, chokam ucchosanam indriyanam. I can find no means to drive away this grief which is drying up my senses. Therefore, Arjuna, as a sane person, has approached Kṛṣṇa. Sishyasteham. Now I become your Sishya, your disciple. Bhagavad-gita 2:7. Kṛṣṇa may ask, well, why have you come to me? The answer, because I know nobody else who can save me from this dangerous position. This is real sense, real intelligence. Chokam ucchosanam indriyanam. This grief is drying up my senses. Ucchosanam. When we are put into great difficulties, it dries up the shallow happiness of the senses. In the face of real suffering, birth, old age, disease, and death, no amount of sense enjoyment can make us happy. Ucchosanam indriyanam. The happiness Arjuna is seeking means sense gratification. Actually, this is not happiness. Real happiness is described later on in Bhagavad-gita. Sukham atyantikam yattad buddhigrahyam atindriyam. In that joyous state, samadhi, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness, realized through transcendental senses. Bhagavad-gita 6:21. Real happiness, atyantikam, the supreme happiness, is not enjoyed by the material senses. It is atindriya, surpassing or transcendental to the material senses. That is real happiness because it is eternal. In material consciousness, according to the false materialistic ontology, we have taken happiness as sense enjoyment. But nobody can become happy by sense enjoyment because we are in the material existence. In material existence, our bodily senses are false senses because they are temporary. Our real senses are the eternal spiritual senses of our perfect spiritual body. So we have to awaken our spiritual consciousness. Then we can enjoy eternal nectar by our spiritual senses. Sukam atyantikam, yat atindriya. Real happiness surpassing and transcending these material senses. Surpassing the material senses means removing the covering of the spirit soul. These material senses are a covering that obscures our real identity, our real self. In material consciousness, one thinks that I am this material body. Actually, we're not this body. We are spirit souls. But this temporary, faulty material body is covering our real eternal spiritual body, our perfect body. This material body appears to be alive because it has senses. Similarly, the spiritual body has spiritual senses. Not that spirit is nirakar, formless. That the spirit soul is personal and has a form is common sense. Just like I have got two hands, and when my hand is covered by a glove, the cloth is sewn in the shape of a hand. Because I have got a hand, therefore my glove is also made in the form of a hand. Because I have legs, therefore my pants also have legs. The garment, the covering, is cut according to the body. Not that my body is made according to the garment. Similarly, the material body is like a garment for the soul. Therefore, the material body is made in the image of the soul, like a garment. One head, 2 arms, 2 legs, and so on. It's a very common sense idea. Basami jirnani yata vihaya, navani grinati naro parani. Tata sharirani vihaya jirnani anyani samyati navani dehi. As a person puts on new garments, giving up old ones, the soul similarly accepts new material bodies, giving up the old and useless ones. Bhagavad-gita 2:22. Originally, we are all persons, eternal spiritual persons. Kṛṣṇa also says, Natvevaham jatu nasam, natvam ne me janadipaha, nachaiva na bhavishyama, sarve vayam ata param. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. Bhagavad-gita 2:12. Kṛṣṇa is saying, my dear Arjuna, these soldiers, these kings, you and I, we all exist eternally. It is not that we only exist for the present and did not exist in the past. Neither is it true that after death, in future, we shall cease to exist. This particular instruction of Kṛṣṇa, that I, you, and all these kings and soldiers who have assembled here always existed, as we are existing now as individual persons, similarly they and we always existed as individual persons, and in future we shall also exist as individual persons. So where is the question of impersonal existence? Impersonal spirit. The theory of the impersonalists and voidists is nonsense. It does not fit the reality we experience every day, that we are persons. Therefore, the principle of the esoteric teaching is that to understand things in reality, one has to approach Kṛṣṇa, or his representative, as Arjuna has approached. Sishyaste ham. Now I am your disciple, a soul surrendered unto you. You just teach me. Sadi mam prapasyami. I am surrendering. I am not trying to talk with you on an equal level. Bhagavad-gita 2:7. Therefore, to accept Guru means that you have to accept whatever Guru says. Otherwise, don't play with accepting a guru. Don't make taking a guru a fashion. To deserve a real guru, you must be ready to become sishya, a real disciple. That requires prapasyami, surrender. Tad vidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya.